For today's art club activity, we're doing this picture here, which is done with watercolor pencils. So what you'll need to get started, you'll need a regular pencil. A pencil sharpener would be very helpful to have a pencil sharpener around you. The watercolor pencils get dull really fast, and we're doing a full color watercolor drawing, so you'll probably need a pencil sharpener. All of the watercolor pencils from your bag, and a paintbrush. If you have a paintbrush that's a little bit larger, you can use that too, but you don't have to. Also, a cup with water. So to get started, the first thing you're going to need is your pencil. We're doing the whole drawing in pencil first, and then we're going to color it in with the watercolor pencils, and then we're going to use the water just to create the watercolor paint. For this first line, I'm going around slightly about halfway up the page. It's not a straight line. It has a little bit of a wave to it. Yours can be as wavy as you want. Do it however you want. Next, I'm going to do a line. Now, I don't want to go too high. I'm actually going to do this line next, not the one in between here, but we'll do that following this one. The reason is I want to make sure there's enough space for this glowing sky that we have. Let me see if this makes it brighter. Yeah, that helps. I just put the light on the lamp. That helps a little bit. Okay, so this is the line we're doing. This is approximately one of my pinkies, just to give you an idea of how far down it is. It's about the length of Mrs. Mueller's pinky finger. Okay, so I'm gonna start right about here, and again, I have it's not a perfectly straight line, and this one's a little bit different than the one I did on here. It's a little more hilly. Now I'm going to find about the halfway point. So in between line number 1 and line number 2, I'm going to add another line, which is going to be this one here. And again, it doesn't have to be straight. It could have a little bit of a wave. It could have a lot of a wave. It's up to you how you do it. So those are our first 3 lines. The next thing I'm going to draw in, I'm going to draw in the road. Something I want you to notice, and this is really similar to the path drawings we just did. Remember how I talked about something that is further away in the distance, it gets smaller and smaller. So if you look at the size of this front line, or the yellow stripe that's painted in this street, look at how big this is. Now I'm going to keep my hand like that and move it back in comparison to what's here. That's pretty huge. This is closer to the viewer, so if you're looking down the road, this is closest to you. This part is the largest. And then as you go back, these stripes get smaller and smaller and smaller until they're teeny, teeny, tiny. You can barely see them towards this back here. So my road is, I'm going to start with this part here, and I'm going from the edge of my paper. It's sort of like a C shape. This one's more like, kind of like, it's on an angle. This one's a little more curvy, okay? And again, your road can go wherever you want. So, like that. And then for this part, the road itself is maybe about 3 fingers. Put about 3 fingers, and then I'll put a dot. And then I'm just going kind of on this diagonal angle, but it has a little bit of a curve. I mean, it's close to writing a letter X, but with a little bit of a curve. So what you'll notice here is this road, the width of it is a lot skinnier than this one, and then again, it's the same thing, it's further in the distance. So for this one, I'm gonna start it about here. And I'm going up on an angle, and for this one I'm starting about here and going up just like that. And again, you can do it how you want. You just wanted these lines here to be closer together. Then for this part, I'm doing this slightly different. I'm going to have the dot for this one. Remember we talked about a vanishing point. So see how I put a dot here? That's going to be our vanishing point. But I'm curving this around. It's going to go like that. So, whoops, my pencil broke. Okay, so I'm taking this and I'm just kind of curving around and around and around, and I'm pretty close to this line here for this last one. So that's how I do my road. This one I didn't have the dot and I left it a little more spread out. That's okay too. But since we've been talking about the vanishing point, I wanted to do that. Either way works. Next, what I'm going to do, I'm going to do the bushes and then I'll come back for the stripes that are in the road. So for these bushes, again, it's a little similar to what we were just doing with those fall trees, the way we went up and down. And you'll see as I draw what I'm talking about. So for these first ones, I'm just going like this, and again, remember yours could look different. And once I get closer to the road, I'm gonna stop, and then I'm just repeating that over and over again. So here I'm gonna do that, and they're just these little bumps, kind of almost like a letter M over and over again. And I'll stop there. And if you want only one little bush in a spot, or you want a bigger bush, I kind of did that a little large. Actually, I'm gonna erase that one. This pencil rate's pretty dark, so I can't see that well. Okay. Because this is further in the distance, I should have did this a little bit smaller. That's why I erased what I did. And remember, I erase a lot. I make a lot of mistakes. Okay, there's that one. Again, this one probably could be a little bit smaller. And then back here, you could think of this way back as bushes, as trees, whatever you want. If you prefer to make these trees, you can make these trees. I don't really have much detail in it. This could be trees or bushes, but I didn't put like branches and all that, and we were just talking about how to make a tree. So if you want to make these back ones a little different, you can do that. So think of that as you're doing your drawing. But I'm just going to do it the same way I did it, or similar to what I did on the other one. These ones I'm doing a little bigger. The only reason is maybe these are small trees that you just can't really see the detail. Okay. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is the stripes in the road. So remember, the closer we are, the bigger the stripes. So there's a couple ways you can do this. It might be easier to do it similar to what we did when we did our tree drawing, where you start with a line like that, and then you break that line up. So by going across, and you can use a ruler for this if you want. Probably should use a ruler, but okay. So for this part, whoops. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna erase. So as I did that, because I drew this whole line in it, and notice that I pushed really light with my pencil there, because I'm just erasing these in between lines. Now for this one, the line is closer together. So this middle line, I'm going to do the same thing, closer together, and then these stripes are also closer together. I'm starting here with a kind of a small one, and then I'm going to do a line. This time I'm just drawing the whole thing in as I go. And now I'm going to get closer and closer together, making them smaller and smaller. And then I'll erase these in between lines. Now this one I'm drawing to this vanishing point, about halfway in between. I'm going to go over a little more. And as you get closer and closer to the vanishing point, your line gets closer and closer together to where it eventually disappears. Okay, so now it's time for the fun stuff. Now we're going to start with the watercolor pencils. I'm going to start with the sky. For the sky, I want yellow, orange, magenta, and red. Okay, so those are my first things. And these start out, if you're not familiar with these, watercolor pencils start out just like regular colored pencils, and then when you wet a paintbrush and you wet these, when you wet your paper, your colored paper, after you color with the watercolor pencils, it turns into more like watercolor paint. It's really cool. So I think I want the first part to be kind of like this. And next what I'm doing, I'm just coloring that in. Trying to get it solid to where I don't see the white of my paper anymore. The next color I'm going to take is orange. And I think I'm going to go like this. We're going to blend these together a little more, but I'm going to go like this and then color that in solid. And something that'll help create the blend, you know, I like to blend colors together. Now about halfway through this, you're not going to be able to see this very well. I'm going to do a yellow line about halfway through, and then I'm going to color the inside of that yellow. Because when we wet this, this will help that spot blend together, just like our other paintings. Where the two colors meet is where the blend happened, where we blended together. Now I'm going to take the bright pink or magenta, and I'll go right about here. And your sun might be in a different spot. It doesn't have to be exactly like this. Now I'm going to take orange, the color that I used before that, and I'm going to go about halfway. And again, color it, and it's just overlapping. You're coloring on top of that other color. It's got a little sloppy here. About halfway. And then your last color is red. So now I'm going to take red. And I'm actually going to color the rest of it with the red. So whatever's left on your paper, just do it red now. And then about halfway up, I'm going to use the previous color again, which was that bright pink color. And I'm just coloring on top of that red. So that's the sky, and that does not look like this, but we didn't wet it yet. So I want to work on the coloring first, and then we're going to use the water. Okay, next we'll do the road. Yellow for your stripes. And eventually these pretty much disappear. For the main part of the road, you're using black. Something you'll notice here, we're starting darker in the front, so I'm pushing harder. And actually what I did, I went in and I colored it, and then I went back over with the pencil after for some of these areas, and I'll get to that shortly. But I just wanted you to notice that it's lighter here and it's darker here, and the reason is this is in front of that, so it's creating more like a shadow. Same thing's happening here and here. That happens with the hills too. There's slightly darker under. So now I'm going to color this in. Make sure you get in between those yellow stripes. I accidentally colored a little on here. Try not to do that, because when you go to darker colors are harder to get off of lighter colors. I'm going to push a little harder towards this front here. So remember, to make something really dark, you push your pencil hard, and medium is like this, and light is like this. Very, very light like that. So I'm just going to push a little hard towards this front here. And again, like I said, I will go back over this again with the pencil too. And then I'll press a little bit like medium. And this will blend together. Once I wet it, you won't see as much of the, you can really see the white of the paper shining through. It's hard to get it totally solid, but that's because we haven't added the water yet. These things are awesome. And just so you know, you get to keep them, so that's pretty cool. Maybe you can come up with other designs, and there is extra watercolor paper in your bag that you can use, whether you want to use it for your extra paint. That paper would work with the paint, or if you want to experiment with these a little bit more. Anything you make, please post it to your seesaw so I can see it. I'm going to sharpen my pencil real quick. Whenever I color anything, I go in a couple different directions. So I'm going side to side, and then I go up and down. And sometimes I even do small scribbles in it, or diagonal each way. I feel like that makes it where you can't see. So if I'm just coloring like this, you could see the direction I'm coloring in. But if I crisscross over it and I go in different directions, it kind of makes it look more solid. Okay, back to this. So here, I'm going to darken this line here. And again, I'm starting dark towards this front. And then I'm going to push my pencil medium. And then just lighter and lighter towards the back. I'm going to draw in the edge of the road a little better too. So basically I'm just outlining what I drew, just for the road with the black. I forgot to color one of these stripes. There we go. And then again, don't forget to color in between your stripes. I'm going to darken this front one just a little bit more. Okay, so for this back one, same thing. I'm gonna push hard, closest to me. Now it's getting harder because these lines are closer and closer together. So just try not to color on the yellow. This one, my yellow disappears a lot more than it did the other one because they left the road wide. The stripes didn't all the way disappear, but this one it does. Okay, and I'm just going through and darkening some spots. And now I'm going to take white, and where the road, the part that's in front, so this section is closest to you, and this would be in front of this, and this is in the middle, and this is in the back. So this is the foreground, middle ground, background. So what where I'm doing the white is, so for this middle one, for the middle ground, I'm doing some white here, where basically where this hill ends, but on the road part. And I'm pushing hard towards the top, medium, and light until, and I'm only coloring about halfway down. I'm doing that here too. The white you can't really see, you can't really tell what you're doing, and we will go back in with the white too, just to give it more highlights. Okay, next we'll do the bushes and then the grass, and then we are ready to use the water and the paintbrush. For the grass, I'm going to start with, okay, we have 2 greens that came with your pencils. I'm going to start with this darker one, and I'm going to start towards the bottom here, where I'm pushing a little bit harder towards the bottom. Actually, you know what, I'm going to go on the other side of this road too, just so it's easier. It gives me more room so I don't color on top of the road. I'm not going out very far here because I want this to be lighter. And I'm going lighter and lighter and lighter until it's almost nothing there towards the top. And I'm going to push a little harder down here. Medium and light. Trying to get these sides colored. Just really light on that side. And I'm going to sharpen my pencil again. I'm gonna go, this doesn't have much of a blend. I push pretty hard and then I need to go a little more medium. And lighter, lighter, lighter. Now I'm gonna get on the other side of this road here. I'm gonna turn it. I think it'll be easier for me. And this looks a little scribbly right now. That's okay. I'm gonna end up adding another color and the water, and then I will go over it again to clean that up. And some of it, when it is a little scribbly like that, as soon as you add the water, it does help blend it together. So I'm pushing lighter and lighter and lighter, but towards this bottom, now I'm actually going to be all the way upside down here. Just easier for me. Remember, your table is protected too, because I'm coloring off the paper here. This is better than coloring on the table here. And I'm going lighter, lighter, lighter until it's almost nothing towards this top here. I'm actually going to push hard again towards that bottom. I'm going to do some in the other direction too, just to change my lines a little bit. This is a lot harder on the hands than our painting projects, I think. But these pencils are cool. Okay, so now I'm gonna continue with this color and then I'll go in with that lighter green. Here we have these bushes. So behind these bushes we're going darker, and next to the road we're going a little darker and lighter towards this top. Same thing on this other side. I'm gonna push harder closer to the road, push harder by the bushes, and then blend it out. Hard, medium, light, medium, light. I'm just turning it because it's easier for me this way. As tempting as it is to wet it in each section, it's better to draw it all out first because you don't have to worry about your paper being wet. So like my hand's on top of this area. If we were to have painted this or wet this first, I would have been smearing all of that. So when using these, you're better off getting all the coloring in first and then go back with the water in the paintbrush. So now this is our last green section. I'm going to sharpen one more time, and we're going to go in, and it's going to be dark behind the bushes, dark behind the hill, dark closer to the road. Same thing on this side, dark behind the bushes, dark closer to the road, dark, medium, light, dark, medium, light. And I need to sharpen again. These things are so fragile. So again, I'm pushing dark behind this hill, medium, lighter, 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 where my pencil's barely touching. I'm gonna go just going back through this front. I just want to darken this a little bit more. Okay. So now the next thing I'm gonna do is take that lighter green, and now I'm going opposite. So this I went bottom up basically. So from the bottom towards the top in each section, bottom towards the top, bottom towards the top. And what I mean is I'm pushing darker towards at the bottom, and I'm going up and getting lighter and lighter. So this, I'm taking the top of each section. So if you break this up into 1, 2, 3, so in section 1, I'm going to start at the top with this. In section 2, I'm going to start at the top with this color with the lighter green. In section 3, I'm going to start at the top. And what I'm doing, I'm going to turn my paper just 'cause it's easier. I'm finding that first line I drew, and I'm pushing harder with this light green. And I'm continuing to push a little bit hard. I'm going up to that road, and then I'm going to push medium, and I'm actually coloring softly on top of that other green. And I'm stopping probably about here. I'm going to leave that the dark green. So by overlapping the two colors, it should create a blend when we go to use the water on it. So again, I'm pushing hard. Softer, 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 until eventually I stop once I get towards the bottom where it's really dark. And I'm actually switching directions as I color. I already need to sharpen again. I really hope you have a pencil sharpener with you. Okay, now I'm taking this middle part, pushing hard, medium, light again. This time from the top down, so from the top of this hill down towards the base of the hill. And again, my colors are overlapping, so I'm going on top of that dark green. Just going to push a little harder on this top here. Medium and a little lighter, lighter, lighter until my pencil basically is being picked up off the page. Last hill, and then we have to color the bushes. I'm just pressing hardly on this outline. So hard, medium, light. You're starting at the top of the hill again. The top of the hill is lighter in this instance because look at the sun. So the sun is brightening the top of that. Again, I'm overlapping on top of that dark green, but I'm not going all the way down. I'm going almost all the way down. Alright, so that does look a lot different from this, but it will smooth out once we add the water. Okay, so for the bushes, red, yellow, and orange. I am starting with red. Towards the base, and then I'm just fading that up, 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 up. Pushing harder, medium, lighter, lighter, lighter. And then I'm going to go in and have a couple spots where I'm pushing a little bit harder. This kind of reminds me of the trees we did too. Red again towards the bottom of this little section here. Medium and light. Again, I'm going to put some random spots in there. Okay, last section, and then I will have to go in with orange and yellow too, and then we are ready for the what I think is the fun part once these pencils turn into paint. And again, I'm putting some random spots in there. They're all different sizes. It doesn't matter where you put them. All that's going to do is darken some areas. Dark, medium, light. Throw in some dark spots. Dark, medium, light. Throw in some dark spots. Now I'm going to take orange, kind of overlapping what I just did, but I'm not going all the way to the top. So I'm starting at the bottom. I'm going about halfway up. And I'm going to put some spots in there too. From the bottom, going about halfway up. From the bottom where I'm pushing harder, going about halfway up. Same thing. It's a little harder here because these bushes are smaller. And try to put in a couple dark spots. That one I went a little more than halfway up. That's okay. And notice how this is still white here. This one I'm going, so where this yellow spot is, where the yellow of your sun is, I'm putting the orange closer to the edge on this one, only because if I picked yellow, because what we're going to do next is yellow from the top down, if I picked yellow it would be harder to see because we already have yellow right there. So just in this yellow spot I'm going all the way up, and then the rest of it I'm going about halfway, and then I'm going to put in some little random orange spots, and then I'm going to take yellow and I'm going from the top of the bush down, just coloring over the whole thing. And where the sun, I'm still going over this with yellow, this spot closest to the sun on these bushes. And again, I'm starting from the top. And going down with that yellow. Okay, so everything is colored now, which is great. Now we're going to move on to turning this into paint. What I'm going to do is start with the lightest spot. The reason I want to start with the lightest spot is as these colors blend together, you want to keep this vibrant yellow in this sun, and anywhere where you have yellow is where we're going to start. So we're going to start with, don't start with the road because I don't want you to accidentally get black on your brush. So start with this part of the sun. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to dip my paintbrush in the water, I'm making it wet, and I'm turning this into paint. And you do want to do this one section at a time or your colors will mix together, especially the black can get, it could make it look kind of ugly if you get that mixed in with this light stuff. Okay, now I'm going to try my best to not touch that black, only the yellow. I'm dipping back and forth with my brush into the water. And if you do accidentally touch the black, just try to get as much of it out in the water. Rub your brush around in your cup. So I'm mixing my brush around a lot. I want to make sure that there's no black on it. Now I'm going back to the sky here, where the yellow and orange meet. I'm going back and forth, but what I'm not doing is bringing this orange all the way down into this bright yellow. I don't want to darken that. I want to leave it super bright. I am doing a slight overlap where the colors meet. And I'm trying to focus only on the sky. I'm trying to not go on the bushes yet, just because it's I don't want it to mix together too much where you can't tell the difference of sky, where the sky ends and where the bushes start. Same thing where the two colors meet. I'm kind of going back and forth. Where my red and pink meet, I kind of want to mix that, blend that a little better. I'm going to do that here too. I'm kind of bringing the red over a little more towards the pink. And if you see any spots that you don't like how it's blending together, you might want to just go back over it. Try to get it where you don't see the white of your paper anymore. So that's our sky. The next thing we're going to do is the bushes. Again, these are close in color. That's why we're going in this order. I'm actually going to focus on just the yellow tops first. So I'm going to each bush. I'm going to the yellow tops. Well, I'm trying to. Once the bushes get smaller, it's hard to stay on just one spot or just one color. These ones, remember, didn't have yellow, not as much yellow because it was closer to the sun. But I'm still just going over the tops. Okay. So now I'm going to do the bottoms and rub it up to the middle, and I'm kind of starting to dab it a little bit. Dab my brush. I'm going across, and then I'm just kind of dabbing up and down. Kind of trying to blend these together. Keep some of that yellow on the top too. I'm trying to not bring it all the way up. All right. So next we're going to do the grass, and we're going to start from the light part and go down. So I like to work from light to dark. I have a little red that came through here. That's okay. As I mix it, hopefully it kind of goes away. I just used a little too much water in that spot. I'm going to switch to a bigger brush for this. I'm actually just going to go all the way down, I think. And again, I'm trying to not hit that black of the road. And notice how I'm going back and forth with my brush. I might have to do a part 2 of this video when this dries. Try your best not to hit the wet bushes like I just did. And the last part to paint in. No, I kind of want to fix this a little. I need to do a little more back and forth. So then after, even while it's wet, you can do this with the colored pencil or the watercolor pencils. You go in and darken some spots and lighten some spots. To lighten, you just use the white, and I'll show you that. So again, try your best not to paint directly on the yellow here. Yep, I just painted on the yellow. For between the yellow, you probably use, if you have a smaller brush, or just make sure it's only the tip. I have a pretty big brush here for this. That's why I'm coloring on it. And I'll go back over it eventually. Okay, so now I'm gonna lighten some areas. I'm taking the white, and this is wet still. Maybe I should wait. You know what, I'm gonna do a part 2 of this. So this is part 1. Part 1 is getting us to this point. Everything is really wet. There's some spots I would like to go back over a little bit. But okay, so this is part 1. I will make a part 2 video. I'll let this dry. So that's what it looks like right now. Remember, this is the end result. But that's where I'm at right now. It's really wet. There's some spots where this is starting to kind of bleed into the other one. Some of this is starting to bleed. So what I can do, I could even take a paper towel and just those spots, just kind of dab them. Try not to use, I used a little too much water, so try not to use too much water. And then I might even want to go over this again when this dries. I might want to go over, so I might want to add some more red to that and just go back over a little bit. Any spots where it bled. When you dry it flat. If you dry it standing up, it might drip down.